Arden, go change it right now. Welcome to the Let's Talk About It podcast. I'm your host, Christian, and today we have a special guest who most people might not know, but is actually my cousin, Madi Prewett.
Yep.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm so pumped to be here.
I think you're our first official guest.
Wait, really?
I think so.
Oh my gosh, it's so exciting.
Yeah.
What an honor.
I don't have a prize for you, but I'll give you a hug.
You're the prize.
Thank you. So what we like to do on the show, since it's your first time, is we like to do some fun little icebreakers. Okay. And I'm going to get personal because I know you.
Oh, yes. Get personal.
The first question I want to know is, what is the best or funniest memory you have of us two?
Oh, gosh. We have so many. Okay, the funniest is always my go-to with the Katy Perry concert because I won't even go into detail, but that was just an interesting time in and of itself. But the best memory has to be when Auburn beat Alabama Iron Bowl. I think it was 2013 when we were in the student section and we thought we were losing, so we walked out. And we were leaving, and there was like 10 seconds left in the game, and we were down.
Yeah, we were like, we don't want to be here.
It was
when
their
Alabama
ball
wins.
or whatever, and so we left, and then all of a sudden we hear people going crazy, and so we look at the TV and we see that we took it all the way back and scored, and oh my gosh, we started freaking out. I think I broke my phone. We were jumping up and down.
It fell out of your back pocket, and we start walking off, and you were like, wait a minute, where's my phone? I'm honestly surprised. Thank you, Good Samaritans.
Honestly,
that did not steal
and we
her
found
phone.
it.
Okay, well, today we're talking all about improving Instagram. So my next question plays on that. Okay. I want to know what area of our relationship has improved over the years. Is it my fashion sense?
It's definitely our fashion sense. Honestly, I don't know that it's necessarily one specific thing, but I just think that as the two of us have individually grown kind of in confidence in our relationship with the Lord and kind of pursued our calling and our purpose, we've just obviously in that matured and grown. And because of that, I feel been so much more deeper knit and deeper united, and just been able to really support each other even when it's been crazy things that we may have not fully understood, just been able to support each other and trust each other and be there for each other through it all. So
every area,
I don't know if I answered the question.
Every area is improved.
Every area is better, basically, is what we're saying.
Okay, last one. If you had to come up with my Instagram bio, what would it be?
Oh, wait, so does this mean that if it's good, you're going to go change it?
Maybe. Because you answered my Enneagram test for me.
I did. I answered all your questions. Okay, let me think of just things that just describe you. Something about coffee for sure, because you love coffee and you love posing with coffee. So probably coffee. I'm trying to make it flow. Coffee obsessed, creative spirit, Colorado living, California dreaming. That's it.
Arden, go change it right now.
That's the bio.
That is amazing. Well,
all C's for Christian.
If you hear this podcast, go check out my Instagram. I have a fresh bio. Well, as much as we could go on about personal stories all day long, I do want to get to the meat. We really wanted to go into the series of improving Instagram because I don't know if you agree, but I think that Instagram is such a good tool, but in the wrong hands or in the wrong moments, it can be a little destructive or just confusing in general. So I know with you've come into a little bit of a larger following recently. And so I wanted to see, just from someone that's navigated that, and I know who you are just in life, you try to put positivity and encouragement. So how have you tried to do that recently, and why is that even important, especially right now?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, especially right now. And this is honestly actually something I was talking about with my family the other day, because I don't know, I see everything in life, not just social media, but everything in life, people, things, there's a good side and there's a bad side. And so I see social media as such a beautiful opportunity to reach the multitudes, to reach people that you would never have the opportunity to ever be able to sit down with and have a conversation with, right? But like you said, it also can be stewarded in a negative way. And I think what I've kind of learned, especially in this time, and something I'm just really passionate about, is spending your time and using your voice to really like uplift and encourage. And I just like look at all the different people all around the world and all the different situations. And it's like there are kids going, without food, and there are people losing their job and people dying from the disease, and, just people taking their life from anxiety and from fear and depression with everything that's going on in our world. And I think for me, this is such a time where we really all should be coming around each other and rallying around each other and encouraging each other and bringing, just a smile or some hope or some encouragement in any way that we can. But I think, like you were saying, it definitely can be used, just in a negative way. But I think it's just continuing to encourage people, because I think it's easy just like when you're, I don't know, just like in a bad place to like take that somewhere. It's like, oh, I'm having a bad day. Like, let me just take that to social media. Let me just tell people about that. And so I know for me, like, it's really helped just like reassessing, like, oh, if I post this, or, oh, if I comment this, like, is it adding value? Like, is it beneficial? Like, is it helping someone? Is it encouraging to someone?
There are things even we see on Instagram, we're like, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but how do we go about thinking in our mind, okay, well, even though I don't agree with that, I'm still gonna have a loving attitude. And then with those negative comments, how do you go about not taking them to heart and addressing them or not addressing them?
Well, I don't know. I'm a big advocate in don't concern yourself with something that you don't need to concern yourself with. So if there's, something that I'm seeing on my feed that I'm like, I don't necessarily agree with that, there's no benefit and there's no adding value in me, getting on there and commenting, hey, I don't agree with this. Like, where does that add value, And so for me, it's just like, okay, I think we live in a world where everyone has opinions and they feel the need that they have to share it. And I'm like, you're free to share it, but it might not be beneficial to share it. And so I think that's where the struggle and the tension is in the world that we're living in, where everyone's like, no, I have this opinion and I must voice it. Well, voice it if it's helping, and voice it if it's helpful and encouraging, but why voice it if it's destructive and there's no benefit in it. And so for me, when I see those posts or things that I don't agree with, or that don't really, strike something good up inside of me, I just don't even concern myself with it. I'm like, okay, great. Well, I don't even have to look at it, or I don't have to follow that person or whatever. I'm not going to sit here and involve myself in something that doesn't even concern me. And as far as like how I've personally handled, just like hateful things or rude or mean comments or people saying things about me, I think a lot of it is, honestly, just knowing who I am in Christ. I've had to come to a place where not everybody in life is going to love me and not everyone in life is going to understand me. And I've had to come to a place to be okay with that. It talks about all throughout scripture, you think about Jesus, you think about all the disciples, you think about all these people that it's talked about throughout the Bible, where a lot of them aren't understood and a lot of them aren't liked. And that comes with just life in general, no matter what you're doing, no matter who you are, no matter if you're a believer or not a believer, there's going to be people who don't like you and people who don't agree with you or understand you. And so I've had to learn to be okay with that. And I guess when I see anything that is rude or hateful, I try and just honestly not even let it just like one ear out the other. And how I like to think about it is like this analogy. My mom used to always use this analogy when we were talking about this kind of stuff, but it's like this whiteboard, right? And the teacher gets up in front of her class and she draws this little black dot and she asks her class, what do you see? And of course the whole class says, I see the black dot. And she's like, why is it that you're seeing the black dot, but you're not seeing all of the whiteboard? Like, why are you not seeing like all of the white around it? And I think it's really easy, with social media and with life in general, to see the little black dot, to see the like 4 or 5, however many hateful comments, but not all of the good around it. And so I try and constantly just encourage myself when I'm feeling down or when I see something that's negative, like, oh, I need to remind myself, like, God's using me, like I need to remind myself of who I am and of the people that I've been able to encourage throughout my journey and throughout my life. And so I think it's you gotta like be able to encourage yourself, honestly, when you're seeing those kinds of things.
Yeah, not let it sway you in any way. I want to elaborate on something you said, because I think people hearing this thinking, when you mentioned not to comment things if it doesn't help the situation. I think there are ways that we can disagree where it's food for thought and it's helpful, like, hey, what if you thought about thinking in this way, rather than that's stupid.
Right.
And I also think even with our relationship, I've seen how we've disagreed on stuff, and we've had hard conversations and conflict that's bettered us because it's in the sanctity of a real relationship.
And that's where it's different. I feel like if you have that real relationship and you have that ability to be able to have those critical like conversations of, hey, like I love when you do this, but maybe you could do like, let's do this a little bit better. You know what I mean? And you have that relationship established where you're able to have those kind of conversations. But I think where it's different is when that relationship isn't established, then it just comes across as mean or, you know, like criticism for no purpose because there's no relationship built. So I feel like you kind of have to have that there to be able to have the voice and the ability to really be able to speak into people's lives in that way. Because it's like at a point where if you don't know someone and they're just commenting on your stuff, it's like, you know, and they're not being very nice about it. It's like, well, you don't know me. You don't know who I am. And so, you know, but then if it came from you, I'd be able to receive it in a totally different way because you have a special place in my heart and I've given you a space to be able to speak into those places. So
yeah, I have to come to you all the time about stuff. It's really, I'm just kidding. No.
All kind of subjects.
No. Maddie, why are you wearing that? Come on. I thought our fashion sense improved.
Gauchos. I got to retire them, honestly.
So I'd love to hear a positive experience you've had through Instagram and things you think would improve if we either kept doing them or introduced them into our social media life.
Yeah. So I have actually had some really cool just feedback on social media, and that's what I have to really cling to on days when it is really discouraging and it is really hard, because as much as I would like to sit here and say like, oh, people's attacks like don't bother me at all. I like am fine that there are people that hate me. It hurts. And there's been days where I've like not wanted to get out of bed because I was just uncontrollably crying. But I think it goes back to that moment where I have to remind myself who I am and why I'm here and what my purpose is. And going back to those moments where I remember like, oh my gosh, these are the stories and these are the people that keep me going. And when I think about some of those, I think about this one time in particular. I've had like many reach out and just say that they've like dedicated their heart to the Lord because of just seeing my faith that's inspired them. And so that's been really amazing. And then I've had one girl in particular reached out to me, or she actually tweeted and added me on Twitter and said like, thank you. I can't remember the exact tweet, but it was like, thank you at Madi Prewett for setting a standard for women. And she basically said like, after tonight's episode, it was the episode that I was on The Bachelor. But it was when I had shared that I was saving myself for marriage, and she had tweeted and she said, thank you for setting high standards. And she said that this guy had actually Snapchatted her and basically apologized for the way that he had treated her and for not respecting her values and her standards. And she said that she had just kind of seen like this movement or just this shift for a lot of people around her, like guys and girls, just, you know, understanding their value and how to treat and respect people. And so that's been really, really cool. And that's a positive message and some positive feedback that I've gotten from it all.
From a tweet?
From a tweet.
Well, that's amazing. I'm glad that you haven't shut off the apps. I'm glad.
Still on it. Every once in a while, I'll decompress and take my time. But no, because that's the thing. It's like it is such a cool opportunity and a tool to reach, like I said, reach those people that you never thought you could reach, and be able to have, you know, it might not be a relationship like this, but still have, you know, some sort of a relationship where you're still able to speak into people and encourage people. So.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you can, and I want to be clear, you can form relationships through Instagram, but when you don't form them and try to just spew things out, because I met my husband through Instagram. There was a lot more like spiritual context and romance, but yeah, it was through Instagram.
He slid into the DMs.
Yeah. He did it. It can work. Okay, the last thing we do when we close out is we give you 2 minutes where you can talk about anything you want to talk about. Something you think isn't talked about enough, something you're really passionate about. It can be Jordan's.
My J's.
So let's talk about blank. What do you want to talk about for 2 minutes?
I don't know. I'm like, man, what do I want to talk about for 2 minutes? I guess, like, honestly, something that honestly can kind of go along these lines of what we were talking about today, and just a message that I've wanted to encourage everyone with, and I would hope that my life would be a representation of this, and that I would be able to encourage people with this, is just know who you are and always stand up for what you believe in. And, you know, I think along the lines of social media, it's so easy to see, you know, honestly, to kind of have this standard of what you want for your life, or what you expect for your life, all based on this false illusion that you're seeing through a screen, you know, and you're seeing these people who on your feed who like seem to have it all together, and life is perfect and life is great, but we have to remember that it is a filtered and edited version of their life, and that there is a battle still going on behind the screen on their end. And so I guess for me, it's like everyone is fighting a hard battle and everyone is struggling, but don't compare like yourself and what you have to offer to someone else's edited version of themselves, and just realize we're all in this together. And we're gonna
cue High School Musical.
No, but really, and just be confident in what you have and what you bring to the table. And yeah, that's my motivational speech for the day.
Wait, we have 40 seconds left. Come on.
Oh, keep going. Go, Mom.
No, I think that's so beautiful. And especially, I mean, I know for a fact you're an amazing person, and that shows through on things like Instagram. So just hearing that you can look up to people, but never to compare, I think that's something that so many people need to realize. But again, just thank you for being our first official guest. I will give you a gift basket. We will make it.
So we'll have some kind of celebration in about 5 seconds. No, thanks for having me. It's so fun.
Well, I would love if anyone wants to follow Maddie, keep up with what she's putting out at Madi Prewett on Instagram. Yep.
Don't know my bio.
It.
I don't know what that
I'll
is.
make you one. Don't worry. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Let's Talk About It with Madison in this Improving Instagram series. We want you to like, subscribe, and comment. We want to know what you want to talk about, and we want to hear, you know, things that are conversational pieces. And also, if you have not already, check out our ambassador program. We want people like myself, like Maddie, like everyone to be in community and to be changing their world around them. So there is a link somewhere in this video, and if you're on a podcast, go to our website at www.sonsanddaughters.tv/lead. Until next time, this has been Let's Talk About It with Sons and Daughters.